I got to give thanks to a few people that hooked me up with some schematics here a while back. I was looking for a schematic for my Admiral TV set, the 16UB3B. That's our P93B13, I think, or whatever it was, model TV set, this one right here. And I didn't have a SAMS in my recent score at that auction. So I did some digging around and I was able to hook up with YouTube user Shango066 out in California, and he scanned and sent me back a complete set of schematics for that set. So now we're in good shape. We have all the paperwork that we need, the schematics. I'm going to blow this up. My printer gives me the option to quarter this drawing and make it bigger, and I'm definitely going to take advantage of that. And these were actually even set up for a remote control unit with a motorized tuner, which my set does not have. And I've got all the drawings and schematics for the remote tuner assembly too. There's the inside view of the whole thing. And it gives me some more insight of a few things to check too. So that was one nice score. Second score was a owner's manual and operator's manual for the Heathkit AT1 transmitter that I brought home from Grandpa's last weekend. And of course, this is courtesy, I like to give respect to those who need it, of BAMA, or if you are familiar with it, the Boat Anchor Manual Archive on the internet. And there's a lot of useful information on that site. And again, that's BAMA, or Boat Anchor Manual Archive. A lot of good schematics and information. I found a ton of Heathkit information on their site. Or if you can't find it on their site, they can definitely link you to somebody or some site that might have what you need. And this particular unit has a 6L6 output tube, which, doing some reading not only in this book, but talking to several other amateur radio operators that had this particular receiver that don't anymore and stress that they wish they would have kept it. With the 6L6 output tube, this thing is capable of doing anything between 18 and 30 watts of output. Now, there's another tube that can be replaced, I should say that can replace the 6L6, that'll give you almost a 50 watt output. So this unit, for as simple as it is, was very powerful back in the day. And this was built in 1954, and the kit had a price of $29.99. Our third schematic that I scored from Nostalgia Air is for a General Electric Model 408 table radio that I acquired the other day. I'll show you here later in the video. Tabletop set from 1952. So yep, it's out there, folks. You got to dig for it sometimes, and it always helps to have somebody else that can help you out with some of this stuff. Many thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Alright guys, here's a new one on me I've never seen before. When we had our monsoonal flooding last weekend due to all the rain, almost 5 inches of rain, the water down in the ditch and our pond came together as one, and there's a telephone pedestal down there in my front yard. And to the east, about another, oh I don't know, couple hundred yards probably, there's another telephone pedestal. Well, both of those wound up underwater, and they have had that happen several times. But this time when the water went down, we noticed the phone had a real bad, like a open ground hum in it. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that, like in phonographs and stuff, when you don't have a ground wire connected correctly. It's what this phone sounded like. And that would have been on the 26th of December, Thursday, we noticed that problem. And the next day, on the 27th, we had a lot of static in the phone and stuff. I mean, it was bad. It was almost like being listening to an AM radio in the middle of a thunderstorm. It was that staticky and stuff. So I called our local phone carrier, which here where I live at is CenturyLink or Embark or Sprint or whatever they go by now. It's CenturyLink. Used to be Embark, and it used to be Sprint before that. Before that, it was United Telephone. Yeah, I know. It's a long story. But anywho, and I get on the line with the CenturyLink rep, and I said, "Do you hear that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can hear that pretty good, but I can barely hear you." Yeah, okay, we got a problem. So to rule out the fact that the problem would have been here in the house, I went out to our interface box and plugged in an old school telephone that's corded, and indeed the problem is outside of our house, so thank goodness there. It's $85 for them to come into your house and diagnose your telephone system nowadays. And anyway, plugged it all back in, come back in the house, made sure I had it plugged in good, and I had dial tone here in the house, and about 5 more minutes later the whole thing went out, which now our phone says, and that won't make it out very clear, it says no line, which means there's no telephone service to the house. But the crazy part is we still have DSL internet, even though we don't have a phone. This is on the speaker phone. There's nothing there. Nothing at all. So I have no dial tone, you can't call out. But the interesting thing is, if I was to call into the house, our base for this cordless phone has a little in-use indicator. And if I call into the house from my cell phone, that in-use light will flash. And last night, somebody called here not knowing that the phone was out. It came up on our caller ID as a missed call. So what is wrong with this thing that it's so screwed up that it won't work? Here's 2 tabletop radios that I picked up yesterday. This is a General Electric 408 from 1952 that I give $13 for at an antique mall. And this is a Admiral Y3609N chassis 6A4NA. That's available in Sam's set 715 folder 6, which I do not have and I need to acquire. This radio, I don't know what year it's from. The clock radio does work, and it was marked on top that the radio didn't, but the clock did work. And you'll notice that it's missing a knob. Now I do have the knob. I don't know where it got to, but one side of the knob's broken off. But I do have it. But this radio has an interesting feature that I don't really like, and it's scented. Upon plugging it in, the clock does come to life. So even though this selector knob's missing for the radio, I think it was for the radio bands if I remember right, because this is tuning, this is volume, yeah, it's for the AM/FM band. You turn the unit on right here. That's for the alarm, automatic radio off or on, and it also has a 0 to 60 sleep timer. So I powered it up, nothing unusual, listening to it as it's going, the tubes start to light. And as it's starting to come to life, I'm starting to hear just a little bit of hum, but I'm also smelling this awful plastic smell, kind of reminiscent of either styrene or styrofoam plates burning in a fire. It's just awful, horrible smelling. And it probably was plugged in for altogether 30 seconds maybe. Unplugged it, took the back off the radio, did some sniffing around, and found that something down in the power supply in this thing's going haywire. Now, I don't know what it is, but it's very stinky. I haven't got into this far enough to see if this has a selenium rectifier or not. But let me pull the back off. We'll take a look at it real quick. Here's something else I found at the one antique mall where I bought the GE radio app. This is a Philco serviceman's service blanket, and this is kind of made out of polyester type material, I think. And it's a navy blue in color. The light up here ain't very good, I apologize. But on both corners it has Philco factory serviced or factory supervised service. Well, it has the same thing down here in this corner. I think they wanted like $10.50 for this thing at the antique store, and then I noticed that they also had like a 20 or 25% off in the booth. So I give like $9.90 for this Philco service blanket, and it's in perfect shape besides the creases of it being folded up so much over the years. The logos aren't flaking off or anything, so this is a very neat find and a very good addition to my collection. Never seen one before, but it's amazing what you'll find out there sometimes. So here's the inside of our little Admiral set. And even though it's stamped Admiral on the case, the tube complement is Hitachi. Every one of these tubes is a Hitachi tube. And the tube complement in this particular set is a 17EW8, which I believe is an FM modulator tube right here on the FM tuner part, a 12BE6, a 12BA6, a 12AV6, a 12BA6, and a 50EH5, which I believe is the output tube. But I don't see any rectifier tube in this particular unit, which means we should have a selenium rectifier in here somewhere, maybe, and I don't see it. But that, there's the other part of my broken knob stuck down in there. It's not melted, but it's in there. But that smell's coming from right around the power supply area right in here. And there's a lot of disc capacitors in this. I don't see too many regular paper capacitors. That ought to make things a lot easier for ruling out a problem. But I'm going to have to tear this one apart and investigate a little farther and see exactly what is going on in here. Now I haven't had one of these yet. I take that back. I do have one. That's a remember what brand radio that is. I don't believe it's a Admiral. It's in a wood cabinet, and I showed it a while back. Now, it might be an Admiral. I don't really remember. I've got so many of these things now. That it's the only one that the FM tuner works on. All the rest of these, I've got a couple GEs. This particular one here, I think there's a Motorola. All the FM side of the tuners have went quirky, or the unit itself does not function at all. So I just thought I'd share that. But yeah, this thing's got an awful plastic burning smell when you first power it up. Just the radio. Now, if you leave it plugged in with the clock running only, you got no smell. So it's something in the radio chassis that wants further investigation, and I will get to it one of these days. Has anyone ever heard a song on the radio or the TV that they liked and could not figure out who the artist was of the song? Well, I kind of fell into that bit of a situation the other day. There's a song I've been hearing on the True Oldies channel, and I heard it yesterday in an antique mall, and go figure of all places, you'd hear that, by a group I would have swore up and down was the Beatles, but it turns out that it wasn't, and catching a few lyrics from the song here and there, which I might add are easier to understand in the older songs than some of today's crap. I don't listen to a whole lot of that. I mainly like the classics and the old classic rock and stuff out of the, anywhere from probably about the 30s to the 90s or so. I grew up on the late 90s music and things. So this song's a bit of a stretch from that stuff. But anyway, I would have swore that this song was the Beatles, and it turns out it was basically a second group that sounded just about like the Beatles and actually became popular after the Beatles' explosion in 1964. So let's give this a listen. I found it this morning here on YouTube, poking around. Pretty good song.
For the first 6 months they were singing, they sold over 1 million records a month. And in the words of one of their biggest hit songs, we're mighty glad all over to have them with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dave Clark Five.
So don't give up hope if you hear a song or something like that on the radio or TV. That the internet's very useful for that. Just thought I'd pass that along. Been looking for that song for quite a while, and I finally found it. Here's the other badly beaten victim that I felt really sorry for. You ever wonder, the radios or TVs in your collection, if any of these were ever given as Christmas or birthday presents? You always wonder the story behind some of these units, how they wound up where they're at, and who owned them, or how many owners they had, or were they gifted for a celebration of some kind, or a holiday? Just things that I wonder about. This is a GE 408 from 1952, as I said before, and I give $13 for it, and it's in pretty sad shape. Now this is not like paint or anything stuck in the cabinet. It's actually like foam rubber. Like somebody had this wrapped up in a foam rubber pad and it deteriorated real bad over the years, so it's all stuck in the case fluting here. This judges the tuning, makes the tuner move, and again this is an AM/FM set. And over here we have our volume, power, and over here's our tone control, or I'm sorry, band switch, not tone control, it's a band switch. AM band, FM band. And it should have a light in the dial right here. It lights up the whole thing. And I think originally this should have been gold to match the bright in the dial right here. But that dial is kind of interesting. It looks like it's got a little atom in there. Very interesting. But this set has some really bad things about it too. We got a chunk of the case missing right here. It's kind of chipped down here in the corner. The cord is completely shot on the thing, of course. You know how that usually goes. This is a 3-conductor cord that the third conductor is also the FM dipole antenna. So I don't know how easy that's going to be to find, because that third conductor out here is not hooked into the power line. It's just kind of riding along with all the other wires and goes into the radio. And this also has a built-in antenna, evidently, besides the line cord. And here's our other chip on the corner. We have a nice ugly crack along the bottom here. And I noticed there's very little to report about the sticker on there. It's pretty much gone. Let's take a look inside. Here's the base for our AT&T cordless. Now I'll call into the house here. My cell phone service isn't that great, so it might take a couple times. I'm calling the house and it's ringing here right now. You see the in-use indicator lights up, showing that we have a call coming in. But you don't hear the phone ringing, do you? And if you let it go far enough, it'll actually go to our voicemail here at the house. So something's pretty goofed up somewhere. But here's the good part. They will have it corrected sometime between when I call it at 5:30 Friday night, the 27th of December, and they should have it fixed by 5:46, the 31st of December. Gotta love phone companies and cable companies, huh? Now that I found that video on YouTube, my Foxfire web browser gives me the option to download it. And what I'll do is download the file and then put it through my Media Converter 8 software, which allows me to input a source of audio, video, DVD, photo, and a few more other options. So I select the video option, and it loads the video from YouTube that I downloaded. And then I can select the output option, which in this case is MP3. But I can also convert it to WMA and several other formats. So now our video audio is all we wanted from this source. So I put it in as a video, it loaded it, and it took it out as an MP3. So let's go over here and find our video. Here it is right here. And let's open it up and see what it sounds like.
For the first 6 months they were singing, they sold over 1 million records
And there it is.
a month. And in the words of one of their biggest hit songs, we're mighty glad all over to have them with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dave Clark Five.
Pretty neat. Now that'll be added to my library and put it on my iPod. Here's a look at the GE 408. The back panel removed. It's got an interlock on it. Here's the internals, and I see one thing I'm not happy with right now. Automatic manufacturing IF cans. Oh man, really? 1, 2, 3, there's 5 of them jobbies in here. Boy oh boy, that ought to be fun. Just like the Sylvania set, I about guarantee you that these are bad or are getting ready to go bad due to silver mica disease. These look like they're all GE branded tubes in here. It's kind of a neat looking set, but I don't see, unless it's stuck all the way up in front, or chunk out of the cabinet right here. That kind of sucks. But you know, this set also warrants me to try something, and that's to make some plastic molds and stuff like that to see if I can replicate that piece with Bondo or plastic resins or something like that. I'm sure it can be done. So, and this thing's raining parts out of it too. Pieces of broken cabinet and dirt and mouse poop and, you know, all those goodies that come out of them when we bring them home. But yeah, this stuff that's stuck in the cabinet here, there, it's like a gummy foam rubber type substance. So we'll deal with that when the time comes. But there's a look at a GE 408 and an Admiral Y3609N that has a BO problem. A couple other things to pass along at the end of this video. I will be making another video on the Gold Star all-in-one. I think it was a GSM 7510. You guys seen a video a while back on this when I was playing it, and the sound quality of this thing was great for a cheapy all-in-one unit. And I did find a date code of 1989 in this thing, so somewhere around 89, 90, 91 this thing was built. But I want to show you in better light. Like I said, I'm making another video of this, of all the internal components in this thing, because it's built pretty quality, I think. A lot better than I figured it would be. So we've got some repair work to do on it too, so that'll warrant another video. And I want to try to see if I can get that paint splotch off the side. And we have an unboxing video, so stay tuned, guys. So guys, that's it for this random video. And I gotta say, John, it wasn't fair for you to leave everybody cliffhangered at the end of your last Mishmash 38. But yeah, I guess you owed me one on that one, didn't you? Thanks for watching, guys. There'll be more to come later.